Network Entertainment.
Welcome to my podcast, the RJ Ledesma Podcast. In my podcast, I like to speak to entrepreneurs and business leaders to learn more about how they think about doing business. What are their success secrets? Can we replicate them in our own businesses? And what business opportunities do they see emerging in the near future? And today, very happy to speak to one of my colleagues in the real estate business, a real mover and shaker, my good friend, Mr. Carl D. Carl,
Come on.
thank you so much for
Hello,
joining us
RJ.
here in the business, rather in the podcast. Really a pleasure over here. You give so many talks. You're very inspirational, and I think it's also time to bring that message here to the podcast. And Carl, let's start off. I know that you've put up. You're a very savvy real estate practitioner, and you have your own business called Spectrum.
Yep.
In a nutshell, tell me what Spectrum Investments is all about.
First of all, RJ, thank you very much to welcoming me to your podcast, and hello to all the followers of RJ's podcast. Yes.
Thanks, Carl. Yeah. So tell me about Spectrum.
Well, RJ, I guess Spectrum is a real estate company. We're into rentals right now, and we started out as a brokerage. Then now we are a rental company. So both brokerage and rental. It came from. I used to work for Ayala Land before in my early years, and I worked there for more than 10 years, 10 plus years. And then eventually we saw a gap in the market to be able to service the clients. So we decided to go entrepreneurial, but we can be more flexible. But I guess the root of that move is I wanted to take more risk. As a, sa somehow Chinese tayo, we have that opportunity in the market that you see, and you saw that by going independently, you can take more risks and make more mistakes.
I got that. Now, let's talk a bit more about that one. I want to talk about, first of all, of course, how you become an entrepreneur. And next, I think more importantly, people want to find out about, the real estate community, the real estate development community, the real estate sales community, because right now we're getting a bit of mixed signals. Is it positive? Is it not? Is it negative? But I'm sure as an entrepreneur yourself, everything's always positive. So we wanna figure these things out. Now, let me go back and get to your secret origin of Carl. So I think that's the best story for it to start off. We were working for Ayala, but I know, like for many of my Phil Chai guests who have come to the program, they really belong to family businesses.
Yeah.
What was your own background?
All right, the journey, no? RJ, the journey. Started out regular working class family. My parents were encyclopedia salesmen. So yun yung roots natin. We grew up in La Loma. Growing up in an encyclopedia environment is hindi recurring yung income. That's the pain point. Parang, okay, my parents would work so hard, carry the encyclopedia, sell once, that's it. What's next? So yun yung parang, roller coaster, up and down. Then eventually went to architecture school. Typical, work hard, get employed. Then, sabi ko, parang this is a lot of hard work in architecture. So I said, hey, why don't I work as a sideline during weekend? Kasi, Saturday and Sunday, we're still young. Wala tayong ginagawa. And I said, okay, why don't I stand like doing flyering for real estate para magka-side income? So that's how I got into real estate. And then eventually, we worked for Mr. Nang of Earth and Style.
Okay, yes.
Yeah. Then eventually, we aimed for Ayala Land. I got accepted in Ayala Land. But here's a very interesting story. Carl, how did you get accepted in Ayala Land? 2002, Ayala Land was expanding to Quezon City. And they were on the lookout for people to hire. Ang criteria nila, kailangan may real estate experience ka, you're good, you're from QC, Quezon City, and you speak Chinese. Kasi they wanted to tap into the Chinese market early on to. So I did not qualify for being good in real estate. I qualified for two. I live in QC and I speak Chinese.
Okay.
So that's how I got into Ayala Land. And as they say, the rest is history.
Now, when you were doing that one, I saw you were working there for about 10 years.
Yes.
And working corporate, there were certain insights that you gained. What were the best insights that you gained from working there that you still keep up to today?
I guess the biggest learning I got from working in Ayala Land is their corporate values. I clearly remember my bosses, the Fernando Zubel Ayalas, they always valued their integrity and how they are in the market. So yun yung na-pick up ko from them na, okay, if I'm gonna go into business, I want to keep my values. I think that's number one. Commitment to quality, commitment to customer, and really just pushing through to finish line if you start something. So yun yung pinaka-takeaway ko.
Now, eventually, you were there for a 10-year period. Then you felt that urge to go entrepreneurial,
Yes.
or leave and go there. What was that urge? Because, like I often say, the entrepreneur sees an opportunity that other people don't see. What was that urge? So two things, no? What made you want to leave, and what was that opportunity that you saw that maybe not other people could see as well as you did?
I think, RJ, the biggest thing I want to do is take some risk. Sometimes hindi mo magawa in a corporate setting. I went to my boss before and told them some ideas. But it's hard to implement in a corporate environment. So I guess at 30 plus years old, I think I was mga 33 at that time. I said, hey, why don't we exit muna, try this out. We can always come back naman eh. And then yun, we try to start something.
Hindi ka ba natakot nung alis ka sana sa corporate job? Kasi syempre, it's comfortable, may regular income, at papasok ka sa isang negosyo na medyo hindi ka pa sanay, baka you don't, kasi it's like recalling your parents' days na nagbebenta ng encyclopedia na things were not so stable.
I guess to people out there listening, no, there will always be that fear. Especially, you're in a good company, you have a good position, and then suddenly iiwan mo yun to be entrepreneur. The first few months was really scary. I think I lost weight during that time kasi nawala yung sense of security mo eh. Nawala yung title mo. You're now, kasi I guess, sabi nga nila, diba, there's a saying na people respect you because of your title. Once you don't have that position anymore, in a way, diba, you're nobody. So there was that gap wherein you just feel scared. And I've seen people encounter that. But once you hurdle that gap and you're in the zone, tuloy-tuloy naman na.
Okay. Now, tell me a bit more about the time that you were going through that, putting up your own business, and you were trying to run it. Was there a time that made you want to almost give up and say, I want to go back to corporate?
Yes. When you're in that gap sa mga nag-iisip na to move, to transition, you lose your title, you lose your regular salary. For me, I lost my Glorieta parking.
Yeah.
Working with Ayala, you have such perks eh. I used to have this powerful parking card that can go into all Ayala malls for free. So things like that. Your free phone bill na ngayon, babayaran mo na yung phone mo. So you second guess your idea. When you're transitioning out, you have this great idea. But when you're out na, parang, shucks, kaya ko ba to? Totoo ba to? And you kind of like feel na, should I just go back and do what I'm comfortable to do? But as you hurdle it naman, you get big breaks. I think, RJ, you know this, you're a businessman, is the difference between an entrepreneur is sometimes you wait for months and then that big break comes. But if you're working for somebody else, you will not see that opportunity because you're busy fixing some other people's problem. Eh. So I think in my journey outside, there were opportunities that came and I was open to accept it.
So during those times, medyo tough.
Yeah.
What kept you going?
The need for budget, the need to pay for expenses. I have 3 daughters. I love being a dad. I have 3 beautiful daughters. So when I moved from corporate to entrepreneur, my eldest was like 7 years old. The next one is 6. And my wife was pregnant at that time. Pero RJ, people believe it or not, it was really a nudging from God na parang, hey, do this. And it usually mga nudging na yan, very awkward period. My wife was pregnant, and funny thing, it was like in Chinese, the ghost month.
Nako.
So we started our business, Spectrum, in the ghost month.
Wow. And what, you're married, so I'm sure your spouse had some saying, why are you doing this now that I'm pregnant with my third?
Yes.
Which, I'm sure that happened, that you had the discussion also, di ba?
Yeah. So talagang very off yung timing. My wife was pregnant and then ghost month. But sabi ni God, trust me, do it in the ghost month. I said, okay, we follow you.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And then finally, I know that you went through some hard times. What was that first big break that told you, yes, I'm going to continue what I'm doing?
I guess, during the first few months, you question yourself. Then, some deals came. One of my memorable deals was doing work for the Jollibee Group, Mr. TTC and Injapsia. That was kind of a big deal at that time, and it helped me push forward.
I see. I see. So those deals were, they weren't lucky, but rather they were opportunities that were the best time to come to you.
You're right. Opportunity is it came and you were open to accept it. That's why in business, I'm also a believer na to keep yourself just open. Not yung super busy para you have space. And in my team, I tell my team, if you're super busy, you will not be able to capture new opportunities kasi you're reactive eh.
Tama, tama.
Yeah.
And Carl, what I see aside from just you doing real estate is that you are also a very good speaker. You speak a lot, people consult you a lot. And this is not something that many people have. When did this come about na parang people started asking you to speak and to talk in their conferences? Because wala yun sa if I look at you, wala yun sa background mo, di ba? Was it one of you think your competitive advantages that emerged because of work? How did it come about?
I think growing up Filipino-Chinese, meek tayo eh. We grew up meek, parang you're not encouraged to talk. And then my work in Ayala, I became the sales director. Eh. So I was handling like a group of managers, a group of people. And my job was to encourage them, inspire them. So my strategy was, whenever we have like town hall meetings, my strategy is encourage, inspire, then action point. It will always end with anong gagawin nila when they exit the door. So that's my first opening to speaking. And then when I went independent, I realized na, parang there's a gap in the market. The market is open for somebody to share about real estate with a good corporate background. So I leverage on my background, what I learned from my bosses like Fernando Zubel, Jaime Zubel, Tony Aquino, Rex Mendoza. So I was under them. So nileverage ko yun and like became that person who will talk about that angle.
Wow, the very interesting background that you put together over there. What would be your advice naman? Because you left, diba, and put up your own thing. What would be your advice also for other entrepreneurs who were in your same place? Yung mga aspiring and exactly in your same place, they don't know if they should jump ship or if they should leave and put up their own. Because you were there. What is your advice for people like that?
What comes to my mind, maraming angles yan, RJ. What comes to my mind, number one is do not burn bridges. You know, be that go-to friendly guy. Para kasi your corporate network will be your first clients. Eh. And then try to see in your corporate experience, what is the problem in that market? You can be a service provider, you can be a product provider. Pero while you're in corporate, try to see what you can do for your colleagues, di ba? I met some friends nga na they used to work for this big company. They put up a social media company. Their first client is that company.
That's right.
So don't burn the bridges. And siguro when you're transitioning out is medyo do it half-half. Sabi nga ni Carlo Opre, di ba? You go to your work in the morning and at night, you start working on it until you're kind of like medyo confident na.
I get you over there. Now, I want to go through that process where you spotted that opportunity in your head, no? And then you said that I will pursue it because people need to understand that actual process na bilib ako sa opportunity na nakita ko at I will pursue it at all costs.
Yeah.
Even leaving my job and doing this one. Help me understand where you saw the value of what you were doing.
I think the root of the transition is I wanted to take risks. I wanted to do things wherein if I make a mistake, it doesn't affect my career. And you cannot do that in the corporate. Eh. Ma-affect ka. But if you do it on your own, you can take that risk. And yung thinking na you can always come back naman eh. Diba? At some point. Yon.
Bakit di mo ko matras?
Why won't he just listen?
What am I doing wrong? I don't know what to do.
Ano ba tayo? Man, relationships these days seem very hard to come by, right? Everyone seems to be dealing with their own ish. They want commitment and yet they push their partner away. They know what they need to feel loved, but they don't want to seem like they're asking for too much. You know, the usual stuff. I know. Relationships are hard, but it doesn't mean they can't get any better. I'm Nikki Porter, your relationship coach and host of Nuggets of Nikki. The path to better fulfilling relationships is tough and uncomfortable, but if it means to have the kind of connection and intimacy that allows you and your partner to thrive, even in the midst of hardship, then isn't that worth the trip? Don't wait until your favorite person becomes a stranger to realize that, yeah, you could have handled that so much better. Catch the episodes of Nuggets of Nikki, a podcast that shares bite-sized insights from relationship coach Nikki Porter. That's me!
what is that opportunity that you saw na parang you were willing to pursue it from an entrepreneurial standpoint?
I think the opportunity came from the 2008 crisis.
Wow, from crisis there's opportunity.
I remember 2008, business was super slow. I was a young guy. And then my older mentors were telling me, Carl, there's an opportunity here, '08. Diba? Prices of property are low. And real estate works in cycles. '08 to. So eventually, I forgot about that. '09 came, 10, 11, 12. And then you look back and say, uy, parang ito na yung tinuturo ng mentor natin. And we're now in the expansion or recovery phase ng real estate, which happened between 2010 and 2019. That was a bull run, alam mo yun. No?
That's right.
So I transitioned from corporate to entrepreneurial 2014, somewhere there. So parang you take the risk na parang ito na yun we're on a bull run. Let's see if we can run faster. From 2010 to 2019 yung bull run And then, you also have at the back of your mind na, uy, this is a cycle. Things will slow down eventually, di ba? And then but if you don't live through it, you won't understand it fully, what's happening, di ba? And then, COVID came, and then it happened. Interestingly, you will see, I remember 2019, before all the things slowed down, people were very, very confident and bullish. We have OFW buying 4 properties sabay-sabay, leverage, ganyan. So, I guess, having experienced that '08 na down to that 2010 na boom, you understand the cycles.
I see.
Yun.
I see. Perfect. So, nothing lost, everything learned. Nothing lost.
Yeah.
There's always
Definitely.
great lessons.
Yeah.
And speaking of great lessons, I know that there are many people, also entrepreneurs or potential investors, looking at what you're doing. Help us understand right now what exactly is the business that you're doing, and what have you learned in terms of real estate investment in the businesses that you've been doing?
RJ, over the years, being in real estate mixed with COVID, lockdown, made you realize how simple it is to run your life. So I guess my season right now is to run things simplified. So I was very blessed to be in the real estate world wherein, things are fairly simple. You see a problem in the market, maybe a lack of housing, a lack of storage facility for some e-commerce. Mostly, you provide that solution. So we were very blessed na we saw those gaps in the market and we just made something for that market to solve their problems.
Got that. So right now, let's take a look at, I know that right now you talk about the superpower of property. So we talked about your secret origin. Now, what's the superpower of property you're talking about? I know actually the initials are Carl, di ba? Tell us a bit more about Carl.
Secret origin ko, very blessed to have worked with Ayala Land and all the bosses. And then, I guess in my real estate career, I simplified the lessons to 3. Tatlong main lesson, which is CARL. CA, RJ, is capital appreciation. R is rental. And L is leverage. That's the formula we did for the past 20 years. And yun lang, repeat lang. Rinse and repeat.
Okay. Can you explain that to us for those who
Alright.
might not be too familiar?
Okay. If you want to be successful, diba, you find something that you invest in that has capital appreciation. Diba? You buy jewelry, gold, paintings, and of course, for us, property. Because we know na, so far in history, property prices goes up. So if you buy a property, your biggest superpower is wait and let it go up in value. Sabi nga nila, di ba? Do not wait to buy property. Buy property, then wait.
Okay.
And then, in our lolo and lola's days, the waiting time is like 30, 40 years. We kind of got impatient na lately. I have friends calling me, Carl, nag-increase na ba yung property ko? It's been just 1 year, 2 year. But always remember, property is long-term. Yan, so capital appreciation. That's the biggest superpower of property. Buy land, you just keep it there, leave it on the side, use it after 10, 20 years. 99% it will go up in value. Next is the rental. The superpower of property is rental, which is, you buy a property and then you get cash flow from it. But it's like the goose that lays the golden egg. A very good illustration is you have one goose that lays your golden egg. Eventually, you buy a second goose, lays your golden egg. Third goose lays a golden egg. Fourth goose. Ideally, while you're young, you don't touch those eggs muna. Hayaan mo lang mag-roll na mag-roll. When you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, you let it roll. And then before you know it, when you're 60s, it's a significant cash flow. So I was very blessed, RJ, na may nag-mentor sa akin that taught me the importance of the rental passive income. Yan. So we've been, kumbaga, there are people who says, I want to reach 100 million. For us, we said, we want to have this amount of cash flow every month. That has been our magic number. Yun.
Got that. Tell us a bit more about passive income through rental. And I think that's key because many people are thinking of, how do I choose what's the correct place to get rental? Where do I get the money to pay for the property that I want to rent out?
Yeah. Okay. 2 questions. No? Where do I get the money? I get that regularly. Carl, I don't have money. Can I buy property so I can make money? The answer is negative, no. Property is designed na if you have excess cash, you can put it here so it runs side by side with you, alongside with you. That's the power of property. Pag wala pa tayong capital, we have to save up muna the capital before you go into property. Mm-hmm. Then the next one is, where do I buy? The question is like a businessman's question, where is, what market am I serving? What problem am I solving? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this market has many categories. It can start from the expat market, diba, which is you're familiar with, the diplomat market, the consul market, housing, to their office, to the offices, the BPOs, the insurance companies, traditional offices, sales office. That's where the office product comes in. Then you have the e-commerce, wherein you have the warehouses, the distribution centers, up to the last mile delivery centers. And then you have the couples, family housing, that can be apartments, townhouses, condominiums, near the school, near the work. And you go down, you have the working class. People who work in SM, National Bookstore, groceries, all the way down to the workers, the construction workers, the carpenter. So all of these are target markets. No one is better or bad. It's all just different markets.
Just different markets.
Yeah.
Yes.
So for us, we cater to various of that markets. We have the expat market, we have the working class market, because we see opportunities in all those market segments.
I see. And how do you choose which one is the one that you want to niche? Siyempre, some people want to be master of all.
Yeah.
It's a challenge. Yeah. How do you know which one to sort of choose?
Okay. The expat market, of course, needs more capital. These are like very premium properties. So, but you get high rental. So if you're that person with high disposable income, you can go to that market. But more importantly is also you're familiar with how this market works. Diba? If you want to target the expat market, at least you know how you communicate with them, the procedure, the look and feel of your property is ideal for that person who came from the US. Ito, just to exaggerate lang, to drive a point, I've heard of people saying na, Carl, nilagyan ko yung condo ko ng mga lumang furnitures ko from the house kasi I don't need it na. Hindi naman ako titira. I just put my old microwave there, old electric fan, old TV, my small TV there that I don't use. But I want to rent it to the expat market. So mismatch yun. So it's important you identify this para, Carl, bakit walang nag-rent ng condo ko? Furnish naman. So that's important. So wherever you're comfortable. A second naman is your question about how do you know which market is depending on your property. Let's say you have a property nasa Quezon City, nasa Bulacan. You identify what is the habu. You know that? Highest and best use of that property.
That's right.
Yeah.
Got very interesting insights that you're sharing with us right now. And I actually want to pick your brain for the current insight in 2025. They've been saying that right now, especially if you're in the market to buy property, they're saying right now there's an oversupply here in Metro Manila for properties. It'll take a couple of months until everything is sold out. So for you, if you are in the sales business or the development business, that raises some alarms.
Yeah.
They're saying, "Naku, paano yung mga opportunities dito?" But what's your perspective of what's happening?
You know, RJ, coming from the 2008, diba, down cycle to the 2010 bull run, we understand that a lot of things are cycles. Diba? Financial, economy, real estate is a cycle. So we're going through that cycle wherein, developers, buyers, the whole Filipino just got super complacent. We got super bullish, diba? Buying left and right without the fundamentals na. So I agree with the Colliers and Lichu study that there's really an oversupply. The oversupply can be in many formats. It can be oversupply in relation to number of renters. It can be oversupply in a certain area versus potential users, potential buyers. So it's not bad or good. It's just a source of information. Now, tayo as property investors or even your listeners, how do I use this information and turn this into an action point? Okay, action point number 1. If you are very liquid right now, you're one of those fortunate na business is good, then promos are there. Sinasabi to nila Licho na, it's the best time to come in if you are in the market. If you're in the market, I'm buying for my daughter who's going to go to this school in 3 years, 4 years time, you're very fortunate. na, I want to buy a landed property in this place. I have it for the past 10 years, di ako nakasama, but now I'm liquid. It's a good opportunity for you because the market is soft. It's what they call the buyer's market. So that's the opportunity. If you previously bought property na vacant right now, how do you use this information? You acknowledge na, konti lang ang renter ngayon, ang daming supply. From a restaurant point of view is, there are 100 restaurants and only 10 customers. There's still that 10 customer. All you need is one. Kasi isa lang unit mo. Kunyari, how do I get that one person to rent my unit? Okay. I tell my friends, there are 3 P's in property. The product, the price, and the process. Diba? Product, your condominium, your house has to be at par to what the market is desiring for. It has to be, aspirational at some point. Diba? Kasi ito yung bahay ko ngayon, gusto ko mas maganda. That's why I'm gonna rent. Make it nice. Make your product nice. I've seen people bought a 10 million, 15, 20 million condo and then at the last minute, nagtitipid sa furnishing. You're wasting your 20 million capital by scrimping at the last mile. Diba? So make it nice, lighting, interior design. That's product. Number 2 is the price. For some strange reason, when we do business, we want our price competitive. Hindi pwedeng overpriced kasi wala kang customer. You want it really, in fact, the Chinese world, one notch lower pa. But unfortunately, bakit sa property, we have this tendency na, hindi, I want to price it high. Then you're isolating your customers. Then natatalo ka dun sa mga taong who know how to price it fairly. In fact, the professional real estate landlords, they know this. They know na, magkano yan? 50,000 a month? Make mine 48,995. Just to really catch the attention, diba? So product, price, and lastly, the process. I see a lot of improvements in the Philippine market for the process. How do we deal with our tenants? How do we deal with our inquiry? Tayo ba ay, you want a viewing? 2 days notice. That's no longer applicable today. Today, if the tenant wants to view, you should be available to make it view. Diba? 50,000 rent, the tenant says 49. Bigay mo na. Because Colliers is saying, there's oversupply, the market is soft. If you get an offer more than the price, the offer is the gold eh. Yun.
That's your goal, the new price. Having said that, a lot of great insights coming out over here, Carl. Finally, as we move on to the last part, I guess really, the last question I want to ask you is, what advice would you like to give people who are entering real estate for the first time to buy property for rental income?
Okay. Advice for those entering the markets now, acknowledge all the news that the market is saying. The Colliers is saying, Lichu, real estate is about supply and demand. Real estate is about solving somebody else's problem so that they will pay you for it. Diba? There are still opportunities out there wherein there's a school opening, there's a office building opening, and there are workers that need housing. There are still e-commerce facilities that need last mile delivery, distribution centers. There are still construction company that wants to rent housing for their construction workers. And there are still like a working class who needs housing. So be in that area where there is lesser supply. So you're the one providing that solution. And at this point, if there's opportunity to buy land, then you can set muna to buy land. Land is so far historically safe. You just need it to give it time to develop. And there are many, many areas that are developing right now. How do you know if it's developing? Look at the infrastructure. That's why when you go to a Collier's talk, a Lichu talk, listen, where are the roads going? Because, there's after the roads, the development happens.
Yeah.
And that's the basic fundamentals of real estate.
Yeah, we call it the path of development.
Path of
You want to
development.
be where the path of development is,
Perfect.
and that's where you put all your structures over there. And finally, what's your advice for entrepreneurs from everything that you've gained from your roller coaster ride in entrepreneurship and finally put up your own business and actually pivoting, diba? First it's brokerage, now
Rentals.
you have to go to rental, and that's something that you learned on the spot you learned on the way, right? So what are the things that you want to share with entrepreneurs also?
I think from what I got from my experience, RJ, is to be kind. Siguro, if there's something that I learned from my journey is you make business, you solve problems. People along the way, you help solve their problems, you get paid in the process. And when you're already up there and you're, financially successful, what do you use with that? What do you use that money for? I guess if you have that excess, consider, being a blessing to others. Overflow. To those people naman who's down there, pull them up. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Carl. Really appreciate having you over here, Spectrum and Carl D. So again, Carl, if they want to follow you or they want to listen to your insights, where can they go?
I'm mostly active in Facebook. So medyo old school, no? Facebook, just Carl D, Property Guru. And I have a coaching. So, I get so many questions in my social media, but I'm not able to address it na ano lang. So what I did is I opened a coaching program, may konting bayad, but it's a 1 hour wherein we just talked about if you're gonna buy a property, tama ba to? Are you over leveraged? How do you borrow money from the bank? How's legal way to transfer this? Is it better to put it under a corporation or a holding company or individual? So things like that. I just opened up a private coaching.
Fantastic. And for the private coaching, how do they get in touch with you?
Facebook, just Carl D Property Guru, message me there.
Okay. And Carl, thanks so much. Thanks for joining us here on the RJ Ledesma Podcast.
The opinions of podcast creators, hosts, and guests are not necessarily reflective of the official stance of the Pod Network Entertainment, its hosts, or other network programs. The content created by the people behind the podcast is personal and not meant to harm any religion, ethnicity, group, organization, company, or individual.